Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Mitten Backstage podcast. My name is Tracy Snedeker, and you're about to hear a wonderful conversation between myself and Grand Rapids' own Patty PerShayla. If you dig what you hear, you can head on over to patreon.com/Tracy Snedeker and show your support. You get episodes early, you get access to private live streams, you get access to bonus streams during the week, and you have the option to use me for lessons, consultation, or even studio recording. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Really no intro yet, but I'll just do some kind of intro. It's Mitten Backstage. Yeah, so this is the Mitten Backstage podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Snedeker, and with me today I have the ever-talented, wonderful Patty PerShayla. Yay! So
I'm here. I'm awake.
You're here. You're awake. I don't know if you're like me, looking at the rain, wishing it was snow, but I kind of want it to be snowing.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. The rain is my October thing, and I'm just like out there, like yes, and all my vampire clothes.
Oh yeah,
I have a separate rack.
It's a break in case of emergency, but it's already broken because it's always in use. But yeah, so you are a very recognized presence in the West Michigan music scene. Why don't you just kind of give a little overview of like who you are, what you do, because some people see you on stage, some people see you, singing, playing instruments, all this stuff.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like I haven't like settled into just one thing because I'm the jack of all trades kind of approach to things. But right now, my main focus is Patty PerShayla and the Mayhaps, which is a band that I have with my partner, Lucas Powell, who plays guitar, and my little brother, who's not related to me at all, Alec Kleinefelter on drums. And I play that big old bass right there. And we are actually getting our tracks mastered right now for our upcoming album, which is so that we can get into later if you want. And then I also do some solo music. My last thing was folk, alternative, anti-folk, I don't know what you call it, EP thing that I did in 2019. And then going forward, I have no idea what it's going to be. I just make music for me on the solo project. And I don't know. Basically what I do is put myself out there with whatever I'm doing. Because a lot of people, like I put out a piano video the other day, or me playing piano and singing, which is not at all my main instrument, but it's there, and if it sounds better for the song, I'm going to do it. So a lot of the times it's just like whatever feels right to me is what I put up there. So I think people get a lot of different angles.
Yeah, I feel like it speaks to, there's always those discussions of like how to make it in the modern industry, and there's all these people like reading books and trying to get knowledge about like, different, income streams, different things. But, to have it come so naturally of like, you play bass and then you're like, okay, I want to write this song on guitar. I want to play piano. I want to sing. I want to, I think it's good that you don't limit yourself because I everyone's going to have their own thing that they like or don't like about anything. So the more that you kind of put yourself out there, I feel like that's, it's really cool. And, gives you options too.
Yeah. I'm one of those people that I'm always reading and subscribe to every podcast. And like, I almost should start a consulting company because people ask me questions, but I just kind of, I don't know. I just share whatever little thing I know that I think can help somebody if they ask. But yeah, I don't know. It's just really fun to experiment and just make music. And the thing that I learned this year specifically with adapting, because normally I'm on stage 3 to 4 times a week doing kind of the same routine that I've been doing for years, but building on it slowly. This year I've just been building a repertoire, and like I've written like 30 something songs, and I've been getting better at not releasing only perfect videos and just releasing what feels good this week, every week. And it's been getting easier with practice, which is, it doesn't seem like it would work that way, but it does.
Yeah, I've recently kind of made that, you know, like I think the biggest step in terms of like realizing that feeling of like, you know what, I just got to kind of go for it, and just, you know, everything's going to be part of my story and journey and all of that. You know, part of it was the Patreon. One thing I never thought I would do is I joined TikTok. And it's like a very, you know, it's a very interesting platform. I see, you know, already like that algorithm navigated me to like, somehow it navigated me to a student I had when I was a choir accompanist at Allendale High School. She's since graduated, and yeah, it's been like 5 years since that job. But she I had always saw her in the choir rehearsals, kind of, you know, doing light cosplay and being into anime kind of stuff. And she's kind of built this audience on TikTok doing, you know, cosplay, different, you know, lip dubs to like references from, I guess, different, like, I don't know, music related to anime or animated shows. And she's, you know, she's got several thousand people watching, and and she found me also and was like, "Oh, Mr. Snedeker, you're on here." I'm like, "So how is this?" It's been a, you know, a fun, like, trying to figure out this weird, this platform that can, like, you know, you could find like, you know, the people you'd expect to be on it, like Jacob Collier. Yeah, he's a creative tour de force and he'll make anything on anything because he knows how to do it. And then you'll see like the dude who got famous just asking people like in nice cars what they do for a living. And he just poses that question that we're all kind of thinking in the back of our head when we see, like, you know, like every time I see, there's like a Lamborghini that always drives around Grand Rapids, and I'm like, what does that guy do? It's like, how does he have one here?
I'm a car thief.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. So, you know, just trying not to like, not, you know, like you want to put out quality, but you also like, if you get hung up on the semantics, you're not going to learn the skills through the trial and error that comes with just being like, you know, like, oh, this thing popped up, let's record a thing, put it out, you know, it's going to reach someone, or, you know, be some kind of next little notch on your, you know, or little check mark on your to-do list.
Yeah. It can be overwhelming though, because I have accounts on everything, but like TikTok, I could not get into it. But I don't think the people who would, I mean, I'm sure there would be some people there who would like what I would do, but I just would rather spend my time on like YouTube, which like, because you know, the Spotify stats came out not too long ago and everybody was like, whoa, 60 countries, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I have 300 streams on every song, which is not something that I let get to me like so much, because it's just one platform and I didn't push that platform. But when I look at my YouTube stats, it's like, you gained 500 subscribers this year. I'm like, okay, I didn't realize that. Like I had my Closer to the Heart video that I played on ukulele, like after Neil Peart passed away. I have almost like 20,000 views on it or something now.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it's just, and that is the video that I wasn't even, like I was out in a field and I was going to play Spirit of Radio. And then I figured out how to play the Closer to the Heart riff, and I just went, you know, screw it. I would rather do this song to promote my Rush tribute. And then it was the one, like no microphone on me or anything. It's just me and my camera in a field. And that's the one that did the best this year. It's just, I don't know. I'm just following my bliss and it's been going well. And I think that's the best thing I learned this year.
Yeah. Cause you know, I remember, somehow it was this year I went to NAMM in January, and you know, that's like the nexus of everyone. It's like, if you could like peel back someone's mind, it's like, oh, there's a guy who spent a lot of time with analytics. There's a guy who just only plays guitar on Instagram. There's a legendary jazz bassist. There's the guy who made this brand come to life, and like they're all in one sphere. And I was actually in me and Elle were killing some time. Elle Lively, we were killing some time before our group was leaving, and we stumbled into the Elise Tro. Like she did a panel. She's that artist that did, what did she do? It was like I think a Bobby Womack and Foo Fighters song mashup. It's like she does like live looping, and it's got like,
okay.
It was one of those videos that like she put it out and it like made her career. Like she did performances on late night, and she's got a team now. And she was talking about the back end of things, because someone asked like, do you pay attention to analytics, or like how do you manage like all this stuff? And she said that she didn't, which I was like, okay, so either someone's doing it for her, or she really isn't concerned about it and is just knowing that she has an audience and can put something out and people will react to it. And I think that's a good motivator, because it is like crazy to try and like micromanage like analytics, understanding like search engine optimization. And I'm just starting an e-newsletter and like just something I could put out to like, another medium that some people might interact with. But I like that you're just kind of, go like, this feels good, I'm going to put it out and repeat.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much to do. I've been thinking about like, if I could just track my time that I work on this, like, cause normally I feel like I work 60 hours a week. I don't know what normally means, but just non-pandemic times, I would work maybe 60 hours a week. And a lot of that would be like performing or driving to performances or promoting a performance. And that was my whole thing. And now I'm doing like, there's still so much under that in like just the managing it and like being consistent with your business. And then like, that would feel very weird to me at this point, because I'm like so hands-on. Like I have my band, but I'm like, you do this thing because you can do it way better than I can, and then I'm gonna do all of these other things because I have the time, I don't know, and the energy. But I don't know where I'm going with that. That's just there's a lot to do.
It would. And it, I'm still like, I probably should finish it before this year, because I started it this year. The Ari Hest book, the How to Make It in the New Music Business.
Ari Herstand.
Who's Ari Hest?
That name was familiar, but I know who you're talking about. I am a follower of his, like, I don't want to say religiously, but I'm like, he gets it. Yeah.
He's so like to the point of like, look, these are the options you got, and go. Like, find. I like that he, over the years I've grown to accept the term brand as something that's, I'm not Nike, like I'm not just selling shoes, but I am, trying to communicate what makes up me as an artist, as a person, as a, someone who wants to help and educate people that are like, okay, I've taken lessons, I'm in a band, or like I've graduated music school and I'm trying to figure out a career. Or it's like trying to help people navigate a business that, in a way that like they can feel like they have some sort of, I wouldn't want to say structure, because it's like, it's so hard to have structure with the career. But having some kind of guidelines to help navigate it. And Ari has, a bit about talking, what was it about? There's so many nuggets. I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
But read his book. It's, if people listening, it's very,
or listen to his podcast.
Oh yeah, he does have a podcast.
Because that's more like, because the book is obsolete as soon as it goes out. Like some part of it, like in the,
right.
Not to interrupt you, but in the volume 2, he was like, as soon as volume 1 came out, Vine just went away, and my whole 2 pages just didn't matter anymore. Now you can kind of apply them to TikTok, but so I don't know. The podcast is good because he's like, now, like, what do we do because of COVID? And that's like the main topic that you hear in a lot of his episodes and stuff. But it's good. He's good.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of his little nuggets on Instagram that are just like to the point, and like it gets you thinking about like, okay, what is my version of the thing he's showcasing, or what is my version of putting time into this platform or thing, and I'm realizing too that wanting to like create podcasting stuff, I'm interested in the longer form stuff, and I most of my viewing is like creative people on YouTube. It's not like this year I watched like a couple docuseries and like a couple shows on Netflix, and then everything else was like eyes glued to these different people that are like, wait a minute, these people were going to do a video every day and now it's COVID. Like, how are they navigating that? What are they going to do? Or like, these people are used to working in this big team and it involves having the access to the studio space. How are they going to adapt? And so it's been cool to like have this very unique chapter in a lot of like creator profiles where you see them kind of like distill like, okay, how do we make the thing we make from our houses? And what do we need?
It's gotten better. Like it's been like what, 9 months, 10 months or something since like the initial lockdown in like March.
Yeah.
And then it was so many live streams and so many technical difficulties, and now everybody's like Zoom, bam. Like not everybody,
right?
But we've all gotten better, or at least like figured out what works for us and is worth the like effort.
Yeah.
It's live streaming. I tried that at the beginning, and it's like 3 hours of setup. No joke. If you want to do it well.
Yeah, I'm still, I started doing, and I'm doing one tomorrow. It'll be my third one. Just an hour of solo piano. And even that, it's like, okay, I gotta.
Oh, that's so great.
Even that, it's like, depending on, because I try to do them at Third Coast, now that I have that office there. And, the past couple weeks it's been in Studio A, and it's like, okay, how do I, like an XY pattern on a mic position? How do I do that again? Like, I haven't had to do that in forever. And like, using equipment. And last week, Bill actually helped me he brought just a big lamp with 3 lights and just pointed them at me, and I was like, this looks way better. Why didn't I do this? Like,
yes.
So
it makes all the difference.
Yeah. So I'm like,
this is the good one.
Yeah, I'm excited for with again, Patreon, but also these weekly concerts, other things I want to plan around the fact that I'm not like the next show I might have is when GR Noir is able to open to the public. I'm going to be part of the soft opening with a trio, but that was supposed to be,
I don't know if I'm familiar with that. Is this like a jazz club or something?
Yeah, it's so this guy Shatan, am I mixing up Shatans? I know 2. Anyway, GR Noir. I'm talking to the owners on and off. Like initially talked to them in February. COVID happened. Months went by. Followed up with them a couple times, and they were like, "We have our building and we have everything set up." GR Noir is like it's a wine bar that'll be on Division. Trying to remember the cross street, but I know it's on Division in Grand Rapids. And
I don't know where anything is, so
just Google.
I've lived here my whole life. I could not tell you where anything is.
I think the only reason I know where stuff is growing up, especially in middle school and high school. A lot of my friends were on like I lived on the southeast side, and all of my friends are on like the northeast or northwest side. So I didn't have a car, but my parents would let me bike across town. So I would just get used to like, I'll take Kalamazoo to this street and to Fuller, and then that can cut right over to where I need to go. They're a wine bar that, you know, they want to emphasize jazz, and he was explicit in saying like, I don't want it to just be like every Monday it's this kind of jazz and every Sunday it's smooth jazz. Like he wants to feature all kinds of jazz from around the region, and then also, you know, have the ability to attract guests that would come to like the different colleges or would come through to like Detroit or Chicago, like be able to make a stop. But yeah, they were supposed to
that's great.
open in November, and then that got pushed back, and now it's like we're just waiting. But you know, doing these weekly streams, I'll be able to like keep playing and having fun with it.
Well, I would love to come see you. I enjoyed, like, I had nothing going on last Sunday and I just stumbled upon it, and it was just nice to chill. I don't know. I've said this to you many times. I don't know how your brain and your hands know how to do that. So I'm assuming it's because you've been doing it for so long and just dedicated to it. But I don't know. For me, I'm like, grab this thing, teach myself one thing. Okay, bored. Grab this thing, teach myself one thing. Okay, I'm bored.
And I think the same way, because I'm working on like, I've always tried to practice it, you know, like while improvising, trying to sing like the lines that I want to play. And then, you know, it's like, okay, now I want to try and like actually like sing these singers I want to cover their songs, but I also need to work on singing. So doing that, I'm like, how do people, it's like seeing you like, you know, do the Rush cover while singing. And I'm like, how do you wait? I could play the instrument part, but maybe not the both of it.
Yeah, I don't know. That I actually heard that a lot from instrumentalists. Like, I can't do both. Like, I have only ever played instruments so that I didn't have to rely on someone else to accompany me when I'm singing. So it's just like, I've never played an instrument without singing, and now that I'm trying to do that, it's like, But
so is that like
I'm trying to, one of the things I want to do by the
Oh no, go ahead.
What's up?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just to say, one of the things I'm trying to do by the end of the year is I already know all of 2112 Overture by Rush, but I want to do the whole first side of 2112 on bass. And then have singing like probably separate, because that's a lot to do. And Getty is very like high range. Like I have to stretch my high range to hit that man's notes and stuff. So anyway, I'm hoping that'll put me at that next level as a player anyway.
Yeah. So is that always like was it a thing that you picked up an instrument along with singing right from the get-go, or were you like singing and realizing like, you know, I don't want to just be like without accompaniment on stage by myself?
I have a weird relationship with both of those things. Because I mean, I've been on stage singing since I was really little. Like not regularly, and I was never pushed to do it. My dad played guitar, and he always went to jam sessions. And so I was always singing classic rock covers since I was really, really little. And then I started playing piano when I was about 10, and that was the only thing I ever had lessons on. And so I'd play piano and sing for church because I went to Catholic school, and the student masses didn't have any music unless I was there to do it. And then by the time I was like, I must have been 15 before I realized I wanted to write songs. And at the time it was at Harry Potter conventions that I would mainly do my thing. And like, I did okay in the Harry Potter Wizard Rock circuit for a while. But I really did. I just picked up, I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar, but I also want to learn how to sing. So they were just both always there. I think the only reason that I feel that I'm much better at singing than anything else is that it's the instrument that's always with me. And I'm that person in the car that's like, I'm drumming on the steering wheel and I'm like, like let it fly. Cause that's the thing I've like, I don't know. And singing again is like self-taught, except for like singing with other people. I think I learned that in choir and stuff. But the biggest thing that I learned was just you just have to go for it. Cause if you're focusing too much, like, yes, pitch matters and like shape matters too, but you really got to just believe it and just, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I think that does it. And, you saying that I'm the same way, like with, if I'm in the car and I'm listening to something, I usually have to be like, either singing along or like playing along. And even as a kid, I would, but even before I started taking piano, I started taking when I was 8. I would go with like my cousins and my grandpa to the beach, and we would, have the radio going, and I'd just be in the back seat drumming, trying to play along to the radio. And everyone in my family was just like, oh, maybe he could do music. And here we are today.
Aw, that is so good. I feel like not a lot of people get that. I'm glad that we both have that. I mean, I don't know if it seems like that was the case for you too, though. Like when you have the talk with your parents and you're like, I want to do this for a living. And then a lot of parents are like, you can't do that. And my parents were always like, just get a job. As well, if it's not going to work out, we don't really care.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a mix because my dad was the one who, he did the thing where like, yes, I picked piano after like I tried to take a drum lesson, and I was, expecting like, oh, I'm gonna get this big drum kit, I'm gonna hit a bunch of stuff, and it was like, I think like a local jazz dude, like doing rudiments on a practice pad, and he was very like low energy, and I'm just like, this is so boring. And then after that one lesson at Meyer Music, I got to there. He's like, well, okay, so drums didn't work out. Like, what other instrument do you want to try? And I was like, well, how about piano? Because I had seen my dad playing piano, and my dad's side of the family is all musicians. Like we were joking the other day on our Zoom call for the holiday that if the cousins were all to do a Zoom call, there needs to be like a general cousins and then all the musician cousins, because we have like like my one cousin just finished his master's. I have 2 cousins who are in their undergrads for music. I have like,
oh, they're like musicians, like
musicians like
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like my one cousin, like he got to study on a Fulbright in London. His thesis was on like studying like the classical, like Beethoven, Bach, and all these different people. But I think his main focus was Beethoven,
the OGs.
But it was also like, gathering up new information in the context of like classical music and sexuality. So it was like exploring how, these things that aren't as normally discussed when talking about these types of artists. He just found a way to like incorporate that into like demonstrating music and talking about composition and yeah, just doing cool projects. But as you can imagine, with that kind of, you know, lineage, my grandma still she's like 89 and she's got one student. She's still got one student.
Wow.
And still going. My grandpa just picked up violin last year, and like he just turned 92 this year. So he's like,
holy crap, that's
still
awesome.
learning something.
That's gotta be like, I mean, I don't know. I imagine that'd be really good for your brain too, and just like your overall well-being and just enjoyment. I don't know. It's never too late. I love that.
Yeah, because he, you know, my grandparents, my grandma, I think she was a nurse before she like, you know, made the switch to like do that and piano and then just doing piano. And my grandpa was a minister at a lot of different, you know, like he did prison ministry. He was at different churches. He's done like the, you know, I think he went to Yale. Yeah, he went to Yale. It's like, it's weird because like you think of those schools and there's like that snooty character in your head, but then you're like, oh yeah, my grandpa went to Yale. Like it was just a college back then. It was still a nice college, but it wasn't like, oh, my dad like bought a wing of the building so I can go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. And so a lot of your, so it sounds like you've been just like, as a performing artist, like you were just on stage a lot, kind of getting a feel for like, you know, audiences, places to play, what you liked about it. Did you ever like was there ever a point where you had the performing side alongside like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, like take lessons or anything, or was all of your education like, I'm shadowing my dad, I'm making my own gigs in coffee shops, like?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. My dad never, I mean, we would jam together like a little bit, but he never taught me anything. And we actually share a lot of the same like kinds of music that we enjoyed. So I think that's where his influence with me was the songwriters that I love, like Sheryl Crow specifically. I remember him sitting me down when I was 6 and being like, she writes poetry, you know, that's why I like the women in music. And basically like, and then I was 7 and then that was my first concert. He took me to see her. And it was basically like, you could do this, be Sheryl Crow. And I was like, okay. So the inspiration I think is mostly what he gave me. But no, I'm a street cat. I started booking gigs when I was 18 at mostly coffee shops. And one of my first gigs was out in Muskegon at Mexican Grill. It was a 4-hour set, which is way too long for any one person to do.
Yes.
With a voice. Like, that's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was when I was 21. And then I just kind of jumped into it, and I would find whoever would take me. And then it slowly kept getting better and better. So for a long time, it was like whatever job I was working, because I didn't live with my parents for very long. I moved out when I was 18 and then moved back in at one point, but I always had to have a way of supporting myself. That was the only thing that they cared about, if I was going to do music. And, I don't know. I learned everything from just listening to other people play, listening to other people talk. I learned a lot once Lucas came into my life, which I think we've been writing the music together since like 2017 or something. And already and I wasn't a bass player until I met him. It's just, we couldn't find a reliable bass player that we also liked and wasn't high all the time. So I was like, I guess I'm a bassist now. That's fine. So I don't know. I've always just done what I needed to do, because I never wanted to do anything else with my life. Not for a second. And I didn't want to go to college because I didn't have the money.
There you go.
Or, and yeah, that's really all it's been. Just, I had to figure it out, and I was going to be damned if I don't know. I was going to do it no matter what.
Yeah. I share that sentiment with, like, especially at this point, like, I can't really do anything else. Like, yes, theoretically I could, like, I would have skill sets to work certain jobs, but in terms of a career and like a passion, it's like I've gone through 6 years of school. I've like put in like hours and hours and hours of my instrument, and then also, like, really, I feel like within the last 2 years, especially since I finished my master's, that's where I felt like yes, I've been, like I played with different groups during those times, and I had experiences through at college, but the last 2 years have kind of been like, all right, you don't have this like safety net of school. Like, you don't have the, like, well, oh, the gig didn't work out, but at least, I got school I can focus my time in on. It's like, nope, now you only got like, what do you want to do? How are you going to support yourself? And I always think of this, what was it? This guy, Nick Scarpino, who is part of this kind of video game outlet, media entertainment thing called Kind of Funny. And that company was formed from 5 people leaving IGN, like the big dog and video games media. And he, in that first couple years, they found their audience, got a really good response on Patreon, and they started their brand, like, pretty strong. But Nick Scarpino talked about, those initial decisions to, like, leave, very stable jobs where they could still be, creative within limitations and do things they want to do within a framework. He was saying, like, there's those times where you're kind of backed into a corner as a creative, and that's where you start to, like, create your way out of it. You start thinking of, like, like, okay, I know how to do this. What if I put it towards that? Or I know I can, like, oh yeah, I haven't done this in a while. Let's focus on this because it makes sense for what's happening right now. And, like, not even in a pandemic situation, like, just like different seasons of life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to, like, turn off that, want to do music when you've been doing it so long, and you're like, why would I? No, keep going.
Yeah. Pandemic. It feels like it's the only thing I'm talking about, but it matters. It's affected my whole life, and I'm not home this much. I'm not an indoor cat. It's not my way. And I like that there was a lot of press, like, and opinions around, like, Ivanka Trump being like the why not try something new thing, which is easier said than done because there's whole industries that just collapsed, like, other than musicians, like everyone working behind the scenes on stage, which is so many people. It's like, if you've been doing it for so long, it's the only thing you know how to do. Not only are you going to want to keep doing it, but, like, you might not, like, I feel like I've been running into, I'm almost not qualified to do anything that's going to pay me enough to live right now.
Yeah.
Like, I've been a musician for 2 years. They're like, oh, you've been unemployed for 2 years. No, it's not the same thing.
Wrong.
But that's the vibe you get sometimes. It's like, I've been working my ass off just to have the rug taken out from under me, and I'm still fucking doing it because I don't know what else to do except make it better for myself next year. And even, I don't know, I've been trying to get comfortable with living modestly. And I've been very, grateful that unemployment has been paying out self-employed people. I've still been applying for jobs for months, and nothing has come through for me. And then Patreon has been one thing that I've been working on, and just, like, I've had some grants so we can release music. And then I'm grateful that I don't have a ton of bills. So I'm personally doing okay, but I just can't imagine like how hard that would be for somebody who's not in the same situation, or just put their whole money into a tour that never happened. Like the Accidentals, for example, like, oh, I'm doing okay in the scheme of things. I have a home and food and instruments. That's all I need.
Yeah, I've been, it's part of motivating of like, okay, let's, there's stuff sitting around my house I don't need. Let's get some extra income. But also just really taking stock in like, all right, what are the things that I know, like, that I want to keep, the things that I need. And part of the reason I have this, like, I have an office at Third Coast now that, yes, it costs, it's like an extra rent each month, but it affords me like, I have two different studio rooms that I can use. There's like thousands of dollars in gear between like microphones and like instruments that are kept in tune, and all these things that it's basically me like buying less excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you put money into it, it's like, yeah.
It's like, yeah, I literally, I'm doing this other podcast where it's just me, and I'm trying to figure out it. It's like a journey of figuring out what the podcast is, and it's just me and a keyboard, and I kind of just, I riff, or I talk about something in music or life or whatever, and I'm improvising along the way.
But maybe that is what the podcast is.
Yeah, it feels very natural to like what I like doing. And I made the observation, like, if I'm about to be uploading today the second episode, and in it I think it was the second one or the first one of them, I kind of had the realization of like, it's like, oh, that microphone I see all these podcasters use, that's what I'm using right now. Like, that's why I have this office. Like, it makes sense. I can grab the things that I need to use for stuff, and it's fun. And yesterday, like, Justin Avdek and I were tracking for this, like, we're making like it's like a it's like a pedal review series, but for people who are sick of pedal reviews.
Yes. Oh, you guys are going to be so good at that. Get Hannah in there for an episode or something.
Oh yeah, we had a couple ideas that we were already like laughing about, to like even something little like like being like, all right, so we really wanted to see what vocals sound like. Let's see what Hannah thinks, and then cut to Hannah, and she's like doing some crazy riff or just like shrieking into the mic, and it's like it's like a short like moment, and they're like, yeah, that you can use it like that. And like, just dumb bits, like every time we try to explain the pedal, it's the microphone's in the chain with the pedal, and it's like, okay, so you want to make sure that, and you click the pedal on,
like
yeah, just it gets all
delay.
Muddled.
Oh my god, I can't wait for that. I will be subscribing to that.
Yeah, it was already so much fun yesterday. But yeah, it's that's it, because I have a student model Fender Rhodes that I initially bought. I paid off from a friend over like a 2-year period. I think I got it from him like 3 years ago. And I initially bought it because I was like, I don't have a Rhodes. Like, it'd be great to use one. But now that I have access to like a nice Mark II with a speaker Rhodes, I'm like, I don't really need, like, I haven't played this Rhodes in months. And I didn't really play it that much before then. So it's like, what do I really... It's like, it's not like I'm selling like Jimmy Page's like Telecaster, or I don't know, something he has that's priceless. It's just like, I want to have the money to invest in the things that I know are like, I don't feel at all concerned about investing money into. So that's been one thing about 2020. It's been nice to realize.
Yeah. You really take stock of like why you have what you have too, like being home and stuff more. Like I finally set up a studio that's always here that you can't really see, but it's always around me. And because for a long time I was just doing it in my bedroom, which would mean and my bedroom is a closet. So it would mean that and I'm not kidding, there's no window, it's not legally a bedroom because I needed my instruments to take up this space.
Right.
But yeah, so I would just like have a microphone like in the way and you'd have to like squeeze in there, or I would be taking it apart every couple days, and I'm trying to make 2 videos with it a week. So now I've just got like, you plug it in, you turn it on, you better make some music because you just got to be consistent. Like I'm trying to find a way to make it so that I'm still happy, but still putting stuff out there that people will enjoy and resonate with.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's all you can do.
It's good to back you up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you have to go.
Yes, I do.
Pretty shortly. So yeah, this was great. I know. I feel like we should have another chat because we still have hobbies and other life things that we could.
I know. I brought my guy.
Oh, I've been seeing you paint those.
Yes, they're so tiny though. Like I take pictures of them like up here, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it's like that big, and I painted every detail.
Nice. Yeah,
it's my side hustle.
Yeah, it's been nice to rediscover like some semblance of a hobby. The last few months.
Something that you put heart into that you don't get money from.
Yep.
Yeah. That's nice because I put a lot of heart into something that drives me crazy.
Tiny painted details. But yeah, thanks for being open to being on this venture, and let folks know. I know you have a Patreon, but let folks know where you want them to find you, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's mostly Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Also SoundCloud, Spotify, whatever. It's Patty PerShayla, spelled like it sounds. Yeah, that's all. It's consistent everywhere. So
awesome. Well, thanks again to all the folks who are either listening now or will be listening to the Mitten Backstage podcast. Tracy Snedeker. You can find more info about this podcast on my Patreon, patreon.com/Tracy Snedeker. And you can just type my name in and find, my website, Instagram, all that stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening, and